Visa announced a partnership to help companies eliminate 33 trillion with a T, 33 trillion in paper checks. It is one more move in the war on cash. And I remind our dozens of listeners, it was an executive at Visa who used that phrase. I mean, we use it.
We piggybacked on it.
We piggybacked on it, but we weren't, that was not hyperbole on our part. We were quoting directly from a Visa executive who said, we are at war with cash. You like this move?
Yeah, I do. I mean, and this really shines a light, I think, on how valuable that Visa toll booth is, and MasterCard as well. I mean, they both do really the same thing. But when you want to do something in finance that can affect the largest network or the largest population and make an experience better, faster, you're going to be relying on Visa and MasterCard. You're going to have to make sure you bring them into that equation at some point or another. And so it's interesting to understand a little bit why this matters, because I think the big question is, well, a lot of times the automatic clearinghouse process is a way for companies to be able to push these payments to individuals, and that has existed for a very long time. I think the fintech industry is looking at the ACH process as a little bit antiquated, and primarily that's because of the time involved in moving funds. It can sometimes take a matter of a couple of days, and while an institution may make those funds available to you immediately, they could still be on the hook if there's a chargeback. And so ultimately what this does is, instead of utilizing the automatic clearinghouse network, this essentially just jumps on those Visa and MasterCard rails. And in this case, it's going to be Visa. I suspect we'll see MasterCard participating in this in some way, shape, or form sooner or later. But when you look at the actual numbers involved, about how big of a deal this could be, there's an association called the National Automated Clearinghouse Association, called NACHA. It kind of makes me think of nachos. I don't know why that is. But anyway, NACHA reports that the average ACH transaction costs around 11 cents per transaction. And there are over 25 billion ACH payments made every year. I mean, there were more than 25 billion made in 2016, and that number is up from there. So you can see the opportunity that exists there. And I think this is one way for companies like Visa, companies like MasterCard to get in there and really focus on the one big differentiator here, and that is the time involved in getting the money from point A to point B. That's the big problem this solves for a lot of people. So you get it there faster, you reduce the risk of chargebacks because you're riding right on those card rails. So it's the first step, I think, in what we'll see is the continued evolution in fintech and the companies that are participating.
What about a company like Paychecks, which is in the business of paychecks and HR solutions? If you're seeing this news, that's going to cause an upset stomach.
I would think, and I think employers who utilize Paychecks or other forms of payment software are going to look at this and see if there's another way that they might be able to pay their employees in a more timely fashion, and even cheaper than they're doing so now. I mean, I think that we've gotten to the point where most people, and I think most people, I mean, there are still some people out there that just physically want to see that check. I know personally, I don't want to see it. I want you just to get that money straight to my account. I want another check like I want another hole in the head. And so I think that for companies looking at what options exist out there, and you're seeing companies like Square and PayPal really participating in this as well. I think if you're Paychecks or a company like that, you've got to be looking at this and thinking, oh man, what are we going to do to keep up here? Because this is certainly something that could disrupt our business.